We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by 15 seconds of silence to remind us why we're here, working together for a just and peaceful society. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Roll call. Roll call. Am I on? Testing.
Here.
Terry Reed.
Here.
Bill Nehemiah.
Here.
Chet Oldenburg.
Here.
And Ethan Maple, I'm sorry.
On his way quickly.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Public comments, 3-minute time limit per person per item on the agenda only. No one? Okay. New business. We have New Palestine Comprehensive Plan proposals. Jim, you want to introduce?
Yeah. I think everybody has a copy of the 3 plans that were submitted. Is that correct? Should have gotten through the email. If you need a copy, let me know. We're going to start with about a 15-minute introduction from GRW. They're going to go first, and then kind of limit the questions. And I say that just to give the other 2 enough time to do their presentations. So, Debbie, you ready?
Okay,
Well, thank you for inviting us to have a conversation with you about your upcoming comprehensive plan process. So we prepared a brief, kind of a 15-minute or so kind of overview that highlights a lot of the process, experience that hopefully you had a chance to look at in our packets, and give you a little bit more introduction about ourselves and our respective firms. So we always like to start out in the conversation regarding community planning to talk about sort of the big picture of what this initiative is for you as a community. And when you think about planning for the community, this is your opportunity to identify and curate sort of those local initiatives and update those local strategies. So in a comprehensive plan, that word comprehensive is very big, right? And there's a lot of layers underneath that. And so we'll be looking at, kind of the opportunities for all of those series of layers, infrastructure, economic development, potential transportation issues, land use issues, etc. So what that really gets to is a vision, right? You're talking about creating a vision for your community. When you think about a vision for New Pal, it's really talking about the process of enhancing, creating, and sustaining a quality sense of place. And the way we like to, again, sort of speak to that, it's the sense of place that is strengthening your community. And so through any plan, we're all very passionate planners, through any plan, process, and initiative, hopefully, at the end of the day, you're knitting together and creating that strong community. And again, the comprehensive plan looks at all of those sort of elements that make up a dynamic and diverse and vibrant community. But fundamentally, it speaks to the people of who you are, where you want to go, who you want to be, and at what direction in terms of growth, preservation, community programming, etc. Do you want to go? And so we'll speak a lot about kind of the people and how we hopefully engage the community as part of the planning process to make sure at the end of the day the plan is owned locally by you all, something that we all help to facilitate, but locally that ownership is rooted and carried forward in implementation. So the background in terms of some of the material that hopefully you had a chance to look at. Our team is comprised of GRW and Taylor Siefker Williams Design Group. I'm Scott Siefker with Taylor Siefker Williams Design Group. And I have a background in community planning. I'm a registered, so if you think of the PE as sort of the registered stamp on an engineer, I'm the AICP, as is Deb, for the American Institute of Certified Planners. So we, that's our background and the credentials that we bring with 30 years plus experience of doing this type of community development and community engagement work. Sam Weiser will serve as our kind of project coordinator, and so some of the day-to-day activities will be kind of directed and coordinated with Sam. But as a core project team, there are several people in our respective firms behind us, but as a core project team, we'll be involved in the day in and day out activities. And so who you see is what you get. And so that's something that we all feel very important about, that we're engaged in the community projects that we work in and serve. Our firm, so Taylor Siefker Williams Design Group, we are an urban planning community development firm, and we've done numerous comprehensive plans, ordinances, neighborhood plans, area plans, what have you. We have an office in Indianapolis, one in Louisville, and we're about 17 people total. And planning is what we do. So we call ourselves a boutique firm because this is the kind of work that we specialize in, and we do day in and day out. And so it's something that we really enjoy and feel very passionate about, and the work that we do every single day is helping build, strengthen, and really identify where communities want to go. And the comprehensive plan world is something that we're involved in on a daily basis at a variety of different scales, from communities that are, we worked in one recently that I think was about 52 people, to, like we did the comprehensive plan in the city of Louisville, so approaching 1 million people, and everything in between. So it's really something that's one of our main core services.
I'm Deborah Luzier with GRW Engineering. We're a full-service engineering company, but I'm the only planner that we have on staff, so don't ask me any technical engineering questions. I'm the planner that we have, but we also have architects, civil engineers, transportation specialists, etc. on our team behind us. As Scott had mentioned, we're also a leader in the civil engineering side of things. We have offices in Indianapolis. We also have an office in Louisville, West Virginia, and Lexington, Kentucky. And we've done work all over the state with regard to me and planning work. I've done a lot of work for New Pal recently, just kind of interpreting your ordinances, helping on some staff review for projects and things like that. But I've also worked in smaller communities such as Mooresville, and then larger communities that include a county level. And then for community utility services, GRW has done work in many communities and helped them with their future planning work.
So this is, again, kind of a passion for what we do or what we bring. I think collectively, we work with GRW on a variety of plans, and it helps kind of strengthen and round out, if we need some technical resources for some utility check or what have you, Deb can certainly bring a resource to help provide kind of that technical aspect if something were to come out of the comprehensive plan discussion or process. I think fundamentally the kind of perspective that we bring for obviously Sam, myself, and the folks in our firm, it's a fresh perspective, complemented with some of Deb's knowledge and resources that she's been able to glean from her work here with some of the policy review and ordinance work that she's referenced. And collectively that helps us build sort of this understanding and beginning to identify potentially what some of the needs may be that are conversational elements that may come up as part of the comprehensive plan. The big bullet there is the other local items, because until we begin those conversations, we necessarily won't know everything, and that's part of what that community dialogue, or again, the people, will hopefully be able to share with us and fill that out. So we did provide a kind of an overview scope of work or process that we can highlight in terms of sort of how we see kind of the organization of the process going.
So as Scott had mentioned, there's so many different levels that are involved in preparing your comprehensive plan. Code requirements, statutorily, they only require a few things: a vision statement, your future land use plan, transportation, utility impacts, and community facilities planning. But we see that that's only the minimum, and most communities need a lot more than that. So we add to it the placemaking, economic development, housing, which hot topic in Indiana and across the country, parks and rec, and any other topics that come up, and these things together are your comprehensive plan. So the process that we bring to you is three-phased. Phase one is existing conditions and visioning. We want to understand where you're at currently. Then the phase two is the strategic planning, and we do all the analysis of the information that we glean. We have public involvement to get the local flavor of things. And then phase three, we start putting that all together and put together the implementation strategies and the adoption. And all throughout these phases, we're involving the public in different ways and forms. So phase one, to go over that, like I said, this is to understand exactly where you are. We're looking at the existing conditions. That's a lot of information we can just pull from existing data. We do hold the comprehensive plan, the first meeting, to get to know your staff and understand the public's viewpoints. We can initiate online surveys, visioning workshops, and also promote the additional meeting materials. Then phase two is that strategic planning part, where we're coming up with the vision statement, starting to form those goals and objectives, and some additional plan elements beyond just what the state 3 requirements are. We're going to look into anything from land use all the way down to, is hazard mitigation a topic that comes up in your community? Then we'll do the comprehensive plan committee meeting number 2 and have a public open house to start involving the public again. And then phase 3 highlights is that implementation strategies and adoption. This is key to making your comprehensive plan usable for your community. Not only do we tell you or give you guidance on what your plan is suggesting, but we also go into detail as to how you get there, who's responsible, and putting that into writing for everybody to understand. So overall, our process brings creative engagement to all of our communities. We need to educate the public, staff, your public officials, engage and incite the residents as well, just because if you have their buy-in, it's going to be a more effective plan overall. So I'll turn it over to Sam. Is it your turn?
Yeah, I'm just going to go back and just highlight a couple things within our public engagement. Because one of the biggest things, as Scott said, is this is a plan for the people, this is a plan for the future, and we need to make sure that all voices are heard within that, and that takes a variety of different strategies. Some people I need to have a face-to-face conversation with, others they want to do it online. We also want to make sure that we're getting all ages and all incomes. So again, that varies in how we are getting that feedback, but we have a variety of tools that we can use, whether it be in-person things, virtual, as well as a hybrid between that. And that's something that's going to be out throughout the whole entire process, from the steering committee, which is more like that closed group, open to the general public with that, and making sure that throughout the whole process, we're continuously engaging the public as well as our interior people, people that are going to be interacting with the plan, more on like a day-to-day place, as well as the visitors, making sure that their voices are captured, as well as the residents that are living here. And so some of the tools, again, just outreach tools. We can do visioning surveys, it can be an interactive map, it can be youth engagement, going to a school, to a festival, things like that. It all just depends on what you guys think is the best tool to make sure that all voices are heard.
So I think the old method, right, when we get listening and learning to your committee, we used to look always like this, right? It was like the very traditional public meeting and what have you. And as Sam has illustrated, we try to be very diverse in terms of coming up with a toolkit that works best for listening and understanding to your people, your community. And again, in a variety of ways, hopefully that strategic engagement plan results in a stronger recommendation and a more implementable plan at the end of the day. And that's very key. So at the end of the day, the kind of the tools for success, or the toolkit that we'll give you, and Sam, if you want to pass out, we did bring a few samples that we can share in terms of some other comprehensive plan samples. But they all include a discussion of that implementation. So that implementation, whether it's talking about infrastructure, whether it's talking about resource development capacity, whether it's talking about character and placemaking, there's a series of action steps, roles and responsibilities, partners, resources, tools, funding mechanisms, what have you. So at the end of the day, it's a very result-driven plan. So from an economic development standpoint, from a perhaps a transportation or a corridor enhancement standpoint to a programming standpoint, right? Not everything in the comprehensive plan may be bricks and mortar. There may be marketing things, programming initiatives, policy issues that come out. We want to make sure that whatever that is, that they are very action-oriented and community-focused. And that's certainly, at the end of the day, making a stronger, successful comprehensive plan that's user-friendly and something that doesn't just sit on the proverbial shelf. So this process really is an opportunity for the community to dream, right? We can start out with those big ideas and anything in terms of kind of the thoughts on the table or the proverbial whiteboard. It's your chance to dream. It's your chance to engage with the community, have those conversations, talk about kind of the direction of the community, where it is that you all want to go. And finally, it's a chance to create that action plan, right? That strategic action plan that clearly outlines directions for growth, development, infrastructure, policy, what have you, in a results-oriented manner. So in terms of a summary, obviously we have some samples that we've passed out there, and then we're trying to keep sort of our 15 minutes. So if you have questions regarding maybe any of the elements that we highlighted in terms of briefly in the presentation or that were in our packet, we'd be happy to address those.
Thank you. Nice presentation. Any questions? No? Okay.
What's your projected fee or budget for this project?
So I believe the fee statement and the
It's in here.
yeah.
58,000. 58,000. Does that include like what's the percentage of times that you're within that budget?
Well, 100% based on whatever the scope is chosen. So where that would change is if, for instance, there are some additional. So we have. I know in terms of I'll just use the outreach or community engagement as one example, right? So like if you want additional, so some communities decide they want even additional community outreach than what we initially sort of proposed as sort of the base level. And I'll give you an example, like creating a mobile display that goes and circulates around the community or what have you, or creating a meeting in the box that could go to service clubs, nonprofit organizations, what have you. So those kind of things, there's obviously a little bit of a level of effort associated with doing something like that. That would be additional, but that would obviously, it's sort of an a la carte menu that you would just sort of add on and know what you're adding on. Mm-hmm. The base level of engagement in terms of those focus groups, steering committee meetings, the website, et cetera, that's articulated, all of that, and the process of delivering the comprehensive plan is that base fee.
Okay. Thank you.
So, and then anything that comes out of that plan or recommendations, whether it's, ordinance updates or a neighborhood plan, those are definitely things we can do for you as well and add on to that scope to take it to the next level.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest things, that this is an actionable plan. So we're recommending things that are going to be the next steps, whether it be just a simple, apply for this grant to do this, or, as Deb said, some of the larger additional planning services or utility services or things like that. Because we want to make sure that we're doing things in this plan to achieve that overall vision. And we're here continuously after that.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a quick question. In your experience, do you find there's any difference between doing a comprehensive plan and the way that we get engagement and the type of engagement we get in like a presidential election year versus an off-presidential election year? Is there any skew that you have found or experienced in terms of timing? Because I know there's very specific kind of messaging that people hear in years like this. I'm just curious, just from an experience perspective, do you see that skew your results at all?
I would say not necessarily. I think in general, kind of our community, we try to be very clear in terms of what the message is, in terms of like what this project is, what we're hoping to sort of get out of it, and obviously kind of the input topics and what have you. I don't see that we usually see any kind of change in, if there's a mayoral change of election or what have you at any given time. There's usually, I think, a diverse range of voices that you hear regardless, if that makes sense.
That's fine.
So I don't see really a difference. During the COVID period, as an example, we were surprised when we shifted everything to the virtual platforms and didn't have any in-person things, that we thought, well, we're going to just drop in terms of our engagement conversations, and that was not the case at all.
Okay.
We in fact actually elevated.
Everybody had the time.
Actually elevated some of our conversations. So I don't see that there's a direct correlation necessarily to like a presidential. I don't think that that's a big driver in kind of the comprehensive plan participation levels, what have you. So.
And if you were to identify, you know, the top 5 voices in a community to be involved in a process like this, who are they?
So I'll maybe add a couple, and you can add on. I think clearly like users of the plan, so staff, elected officials, commission members, those kind of, you know, I think users of the plan. I think on the kind of the public side, everybody from local business owners, I think large institutions, whether that be employers or faith-based organizations or what have you, you know, those kind of major players in the community, I think certainly are very valuable. So I think that's a sort of the school, I think is certainly a dynamic and valuable player to make sure they're at the table as well. So I think that's kind of my initial
Yeah,
list.
I'd probably add on, you know, your real estate agents
Developers.
or your development
Yeah.
base,
Yeah.
civil
We-
engineers that are doing
Because
work
you're in
as
the
well.
line.
Yeah.
And I would just add, again, just that youth aspect of it, when it comes to their growing up here, and we want to have a population retention aspect, as well as then looking at your emergency services, because that kind of limits some development things for us, which their needs are satisfied. It's kind of like the domino effect for it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
This is just a quick little leaf behind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have to really stick to the time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, thank you.
I won't ask any more questions.
Hi, I'm going to hand you guys our presentation.
Perfect.
I'll give you my business card.
Yes.
Is it the same? Is this the same thing that we have in an email?
Did Jim forward it to you?
Yes.
Then yes, it
Okay.
is.
Thank you.
I don't know, I know I'm a hard copy.
No, that's fine.
I
That's
have
great.
to.
Thank you.
Old school.
And I'm Sydney Shirazzi.
Hi, Terry Reed. Hi. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Ethan. Fred, nice to meet you.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Elena Shaw, very nice.
Nice to meet you.
I can see that. Okay, so can you start?
You can start. Yes.
I'm pretty loud, so I'll just talk. So my name is Sydney Shirazzi. I'm the president and CEO of Bold Strategies, and I serve as the project lead for the comprehensive plan proposal that you have in front of you tonight. I am joined by Elena Schonkweiler with KSM Consulting and Fred Frizzo from Context Design, and we serve as your project team. So we'll go through some quick introductions. I'll introduce myself and my firm, and then I'll have Elena and Fred do the same. And then we'll move into the project roadmap, where we'll discuss our project approach for this comprehensive plan. And then we'll go through the project timeline, where we'll talk about our team's capacity to get this done in the time frame that you've laid out in your RFP. And then we'll round it out with some relevant experience that we all have that'll really lend itself to the execution of this process. And so, unless anybody has any questions right now, for the sake of time, I can go ahead and jump right into the presentation. So again, my name is Sydney Shirazzi. I'm the president and CEO of Volt Strategies. Volt Strategies is a full-service public affairs firm that serves the wide-ranging needs of the communities that we serve. I myself have been in the public affairs and government affairs space for nearly a decade now, and I've had the unique opportunity to work for a couple multi-client firms where I've represented a wide range of industries. And what that's allowed me to do over the last several years is really create a very robust network across the state, both at the very micro level with local governments all the way up to the General Assembly and advocating Why I started my firm was because over the last several years, I've developed a real passion for helping local governments reach their growth objectives. And you'll hear me say this a lot, probably even throughout this presentation. Growth in communities is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and I'm very, very passionate about that. So my services are often brought in both before, during, and after the comprehensive plan process. It really just matters where the community is at, and I take great pride in getting to know my communities and meeting with them where they're at in the growth process and helping them navigate the intricacies of the planning process. And so we'll go over some of the relevant experience I have and how that lends itself to this project, but I'll leave it to Elena and Fred to introduce themselves and their firm.
Thank you. So Elena Schonkweiler with Katz, Sapper, Miller. We're a CPA and audit firm, and you might ask what a CPA and audit firm is doing, presenting to a comprehensive master plan project proposal. So I will say, so Katz, Sapper, Miller has been in business for several years, and in their audit practice, they do work with municipalities. What we found is, as we were doing cost analysis and audits, our municipal clients would come and say, hey, can you help us with this strategic initiative that we are trying to implement? And we started an advisory practice, which is, it's called government advisory. And basically what we do is we work with governmental units, counties, cities, towns, townships, anything in that arena to implement anything that they have in their strategic plans and their comprehensive master plans. We do cost analysis, feasibility studies. We work with law enforcement on the feasibility study for their fire stations. We kind of serve in an all-encompassing role. The reason we are a part of this team is some of our data skills, looking at, as you're looking at revitalization and reinventing your downtown, your parks, your master planning, all of those things also couple with socioeconomic population demographic analysis, and that's something that we bring to the table here. My background, I worked for 5 years in economic development for the city of Noblesville, and focused on their downtown revitalization, was a part of many different comprehensive master plan updates with that community. I worked for our school system doing CTE internship programs for 5 years and worked in federal government for our congressional district as a district director. So I understand how to bring money back to communities from the federal and the state level. So that's why we are at the table. And I will hand it to Fred to introduce Contact Design.
Hi guys, Fred, President of Context Design. You haven't heard the word planning or design yet, and what the two ladies have presented, that's really the role that we serve. So we provide the creative side, the planning side, the visioning side of the process. I think why the team here has gelled so well together in kind of pursuing this project is these folks are really about creative strategies and synergies with local government. They've touched on that. I can underscore how important that is, not just to get the vision right. Every team that you're interviewing tonight can do a good comp plan for you. There's no question in my mind you're interviewing good folks. It's how we take that next leap after the plan is established to get it funded, to make it actionable, and to make it attainable for your community. So it's really important, I think, and that's why you see 3 different flavors of folks standing here, because we're really focused on how you really jump forward, if that makes sense to you. As far as our firm, Context is again, land planning and landscape architecture practice. My wife and I, we live in McCordsville. Our kids go to Mount Vernon. I hope I can say that in Utah. Is that okay? So we chose to raise our family here. I happened to be born in Greenfield many years ago. I grew up on the southeast side of Indianapolis. We lived in Nashville, Tennessee for many years and then moved back and have grown our practice here. Hancock County is our roots. We're taxpayers here too. We want to really see quality growth. I think you guys are going to develop and grow just in the same way that McCordsville is developing and growing based upon pressures. What we want to do as a team is really help set a plan that meets the quality expectations that you want, that helps you to grow in the right ways, keeps quality of place and character in mind. You'll hear us talk a little bit about some project experiences in a couple slides that we think may be parallel. I think that's really the message we want to send to you tonight, is we intend to come at this a little differently than the other teams, and that's very intentional, very purposeful.
So that was really well into the project roadmap. That was a bit of what I was going to say.
Totally.
Yeah, no, it's in the essence of time, we're good. So this different backgrounds, different skill sets, and a robust network of folks in our space where you will not be getting a boilerplate product at the end of this. It'll be customizable, it'll speak to your community's personality and your vision and where you want to go. And so I'll talk a little bit about my role and then how I approach these kinds of projects, and then I'll let Fred and Elena do the same and where their value adds are throughout the process. So again, I am the project lead, so I will be your point of contact throughout the entirety of this process, from initial engagement to project execution. So what that means is, given we sign on, you will have my number on speed dial for the entirety of the project. You will be able to call me to talk about your questions, concerns, suggestions, or comments about the planning process. And I really take great pride in being accessible to my clients, because I feel like the more I know you and communicate with you, I can reflect your community and your goals throughout the planning process. And so how I like to start my engagements are really from initial engagement, getting in the weeds, coming and getting to know the stakeholders. That's not only individuals, but also in the capacities that they serve their communities. And what that allows me to do is create a very intentional and deliberate engagement strategy, so we can hit the ground running and make sure we're inclusive of all the stakeholders who need to be at the table. I have a lot of experience building coalitions, especially at the micro and local government level, and we'll get into some of that experience in a little bit. So I have an affinity for knowing who needs to be at the table and what questions need to be asked, so that we can put together an effective comprehensive plan. I think where a lot of my skill set will also lend itself to in this planning process is the goal alignment and recalibration phase of this. And so a lot of my expertise comes from implementing the objectives that comprehensive plans often lay out. So I have worked extensively at the state level and with counties and local units of government to implement their comprehensive plans. So I know what goes into a comprehensive plan to make it appealing to a state agency you might apply to. So I know this town center is something that everybody's really excited about, and it sounds like developers are really excited about it too, but there may be potential funding that is needed for the quality of life projects or the park that you want to put into it. And I have a lot of experience working with Oprah, working with CERTA, who just received the $45 million from the Ready 2.0 grant. And I know how to create a very customized and personalized story so that you are at the top of that short list when you apply and go for some of those funds. And so where that also lends itself to is creating kind of a milestone chart at the end of this. We will be able to determine what some short-term goals are, where you can immediately use your comprehensive plan to hit the ground running, and then we'll develop a plan of action and what needs to be done to hit some of those more medium to long-term goals and objectives. And so while all of that is great, a comprehensive plan is not truly comprehensive unless you have the expertise of the people behind me. So I'm going to hand it off to Elena and Fred to fill in some of those value adds.
Yeah, so with our skill set at KSM, I mentioned our data. We have several different data platforms that we would bring to the table. And I think one of the things that I like to bring to a comprehensive plan experience is the lens that the process is just as important as the product and the end deliverable. So the process is extremely important to have stakeholder engagement, as Sydney mentioned, to bring the public meetings, to bring that those folks' opinions, as they are the ones living and breathing in this community. They have to be comfortable with what is the end goal, and really establishing that community vision. So of course, every firm here will check the boxes that you have to statutorily for a comprehensive plan update, but we also understand that that process is going to help form, and as 4 of you are new town council members, we understand that this is something that you want to stand on and constantly point back to, and really bring that community spirit back to this process. So as we talk a little bit more about the data platforms, showcasing, kind of snapping the chalk line of where you are with the socioeconomic population, we know that you have some growth opportunities happening. We see New Pal schools growing as well. Integrating those anchor institutions in the process and their strategic plan and their comprehensive plans, and making sure that there's some synergies, and if there aren't, or if there are gaps, helping to bridge those with you as your partner and as your community's partner, because this is their plan as much as it is towns and municipality. We talk a lot about strategy, we talk about goal alignment and objectives. One of the things that our firms all stand on is that this plan will have implementation ability for you. That there won't be something that it's just sitting on a shelf collecting dust, which many comprehensive plans do. That we will make sure that it is a living, breathing document that evolves with you and that you feel comfortable with in the end. And I'll let Fred talk a little bit more about the land use strategy.
Sure. And Sydney's given me approval. I whispered in her ear, can I just jump ahead for sake of time into some of the examples? I think we're doing pretty well on time, but I want to make sure we get up to all the slides. When we first talked about this teaming arrangement, one of the things that I was asked was, tell me why this project matters to you. And one of the things I wanted to underscore for you is some of our biggest clients include your school corporation, Hancock Health. We do their land planning, we do their site development. We want you to be successful at all levels, both at the town level, at your more macro level, at a county level. We were involved in the county's comprehensive plan that was finished last year. We want to make sure that all boats are rising. And it does have to be customizable. Cindy mentioned that a couple times. Your solution will not match every other community that happens in and around you, but it's that listening that really matters. It's really those liaison efforts that really matter. Can you jump ahead a couple of slides? So I'm only going to touch on this very briefly. I'll take as many questions as you want, of course, about this. Two of the projects that we mentioned was the Yorktown, Indiana redevelopment that's happening in their downtown, as well as the Plainfield plan. And we've done many in similarly sized communities, but I think there's some commonalities in those two that we think really matters to this plan. I'll just underscore those quickly. I feel like really that when you're thinking about downtown and how you have the bones of a great old historic downtown, right? It needs to be fostered. We need to help new business grow, but not leave behind existing businesses. And I think that's something that a lot of comp plans really miss. They focus on what is next or the next shiny object, we call it, but maybe don't help to grow those businesses that are there. You really want to underscore that. Plainfield was a perfect example of that. Had quite a bit of the character, the scale, the charm that you have in your downtown, and how do we make sure that that develops and evolves and grows in an effective way. I think Yorktown in a little bit different light. Yorktown really didn't have a lot of identity, so they were trying to set a character for what would they want a downtown to be. I think what is somewhat parallel is its ability to draw people back downtown and to bring employment opportunities to the community. I think that has some real merits to be on the bone that we'd like to really focus on as we start to engage it.
I wanted to highlight the Montgomery County Comprehensive Plan update that KSM has completed. In fact, we're presenting it on Wednesday next week to their Plan Commission for recommendation to adopt. The reason we brought up Montgomery County, your RFP mentioned the rural character, preserving land, and green space, and I wanted to bring up Montgomery County specifically because they're dealing with a lot of, they're positioned similarly to you guys in Hancock County. They are dealing with some IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation pressures of the LEAP district, the super site. That there's some economic development happening to them and not with them in what they want to see. So collectively working with their community, their landowners, their business owners, their schools, they don't have a strong healthcare partner like you guys do with Hancock Health, but making sure that we're putting those pieces together to help them create the strategy that's right for them. And it may not align necessarily with what the state's goals were in Boone County, which is right on their border, but understanding the infrastructure investment, their road thoroughfare plan, all of those things that play into those pieces were things that we were able to help them create a plan that they felt comfortable with and they're excited to adopt. They had created a plan similarly to you guys, and you guys were 2016, they're 2019, and they've had some changes happening in their community. They wanted to refresh quickly, so that's why we brought that plan up. And happy to share that plan with you as well. It's on the Montgomery County website.
So I'll quickly go over my work in Hamilton County, and then I'll actually end with our timeline slide and really just talk about our capacity as a team to complete this project for you guys. So I represented a lot of different local units of government, everywhere from statewide association of county commissioners as well as local units of government. Individually, again, my services range depending on what those needs of the locality are at that time. Some of them are not ready for a comprehensive plan yet. Some of them are in the middle of the process, and so a lot of the times I deal with the implementation of those objectives. So Hamilton County is a really good example of a long-term client I've had throughout the before, during, and after their most recent comprehensive plan update in 2020. And I'll use one example because I'm very plugged in various areas of that plan. But public health, when I first started getting engaged with Hamilton County, was one of the utmost key factors of importance for them. More specifically as it relates to public health and mental health access in the community, and even on a more micro level with that objective on how first responders and veterans can have access to public and mental health. And so we had already been working prior to that comprehensive plan being put together on some obtainable objectives. We've advocated before the General Assembly. We've built coalitions with the local mayors, health departments, police and fire departments, veterans organizations, et cetera, to kind of break down some of those barriers. And so quality of life and public health access was a part of the conversation as the comprehensive plan was rolling out. And my role was really to advise my client, this being the commissioners, on, okay, where have we gone? What is this plan going to include, and how does it speak to the goals that you've had thus far? And where can we go in the future? And how can we build off of the actions that you've already taken to really elevate the community and put it on paper to say this is where we want to go in the future? So I've done that from everything from public health to TIF and zoning to septic. And so it's been a long tenure with them, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done and we continue to do. And I'm really excited to showcase how that can lend some value to you. And so I'll quickly jump to the timeline section. We have a June implementation date to a January execution date. This is a conversation that we had as a team offline individually on the capacity that we all have. That was a factor you highlighted in your RFP. And I think I can speak for the entire team when I say that we are very much quality over quantity in our individual professions and how we handle business. It's also very serendipitous that at least me and Elena have had our biggest projects wrap up in the last couple months. So you can rest assured that you'll have our undivided attention during this process, and we're not stretched thin, and you can be our focus throughout this engagement. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, and we can take some questions if there are any.
No, we don't have time for any more questions, but we can get a hold of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Nice presentation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it very much.
Didn't mean to cut off Mr. Maple down there.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't
Thank
here
you.
for the beginning instructions. I'm not allowed to ask questions. It's okay.
Well, sure. Why not?
You're in charge. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the last one.
How you doing?
Good evening. Where?
Yep.
Rough crowd
Right.
Yeah.
tonight. We need to wait on Jim or?
Nope, you can get,
Don't wait on him?
nope.
Well, it's really good to see everybody. My name is Corey Weitzel. I'm with HWC Engineering. And so a little bit about me. I've been with HWC for 30 years now. And I started when there was a company with 4 people. Today, I just got a report in the meeting this morning, 195 now. So we've seen this company grow over the years. And you do that by doing a good job for the communities that you serve. That's what we do. We work for cities, Katz counties, regions across the state. And my team runs landscape architecture, urban planning, and community planning projects for all those different disciplines across the state. With me,
Sheehan, Brian?
Real quick, Brian Sheehan, I've been in business development with HWC for a little over a year. Prior to that, spent the previous 7 years doing special projects and community development over in Rushville. One of the biggest reasons I made the leap was, and we did several planning efforts, comprehensive plan, strategic plan, downtown plan, many of those kinds of things with HWC. I believed in what they were doing. Jumped ship, but I'm still involved in Rushville. I can't cut that cord, but it's good to be with HWC.
The other person that's on our team is Rachel Christensen. Rachel is in Edinburgh tonight for a public open house for a comprehensive plan we're doing for them. So they went through the process of getting initial feedback from the community, taking all that input together, that we put it into a series of infographics and boards, and we're spread out across our room tonight and collecting input to take and show the community, number one, that we did listen to them, but also we're getting input to refine the ideas that we're working on. So she's there tonight. We're always going to honor our commitments first before we bring somebody else in, but Rachel will do that. Rachel is also working right now for the Community Foundation, leading the Quality of Place initiative that is being led by the Community Foundation. So I think you've had a chance to work a little bit with Rachel through that process. Rachel's background was, she was with the town of Pendleton as their planning director for several years, so has a lot of experience working for communities very much this size. So as we look at where you're at as a community, and think about what does a comprehensive plan need to take on, one of the things that's very clear is this is a plan that's going to be about how do you manage growth. And growth is one of those challenges that's happening around you. There's a certain measure of it. And so far, you guys have done such a nice job of being able to find ways to capture the good things about growth, things like the Wellness Center, which are a great addition to the community. But you've been able to keep out some of the bad things, some of the traffic that other communities have experienced as they manage those growth pressures that come in. As we look into the future, as that growth accelerates, as it pushes out further from Indianapolis and starts to get here, the question in this plan is, how do you set yourself up for it? How do you protect the character of the community? How do you take care of the things that you love? How do you manage change that's coming in? And what does that look like? What are the tools? What are the capacities? What are the resources that you need to make good decisions to protect the things that you love, keep out the things that you don't want? And how do you make that easy in your planning process? What are the tools that you need to accomplish that? HWC has strong experience working with communities that are in this same position. We've done that in fast-growing communities. We've done the last plan for Noblesville. We did the last plan we're just working right now in Greenwood. On their plan, we did the last plan for Franklin. We're doing Avon's right now. So we have that experience leading communities in some of those bigger places. I think what's more relevant to you, though, is we have a lot of experience working on those communities that are kind of the outer ring of central Indiana's development. Places like Whiteland, places like Mooresville, Martinsville, Danville, Sheridan. It's communities that are seeing a little bit of that growth pressure. It's not overwhelmed them yet, but they know that, boy, if the interest rates change and development accelerates, we can be quickly inundated with a lot of things, and we've got to make sure that what comes in is the things that we want. The way we approach all this is about defining what growth and development looks like on your terms. You get to define it. You get to define what that future is. How do you go about it? What are those parts of development that you like and what are those don't? And how do you build the community the way you want to do it? You don't have to do it the way that anybody else around you has done it. You don't have to do it the way Cumberland's done it. You don't have to do it the way that Greenfield's done it. You get to define what that looks like and where you want to be. We think of it this way: when you work on a comprehensive plan, you're trying to accomplish 4 things. We think a great comprehensive plan has 4 things. The first thing it needs to do is it needs to cast a vision for your future. What do you want to be? If development is happening, what kind of development is the right development in New Palestine? What's the right kind of development? What's the matches the character of your community? You need to cast a vision for what that's going to be. But if you guys just cast a vision and say, this is what we're going to do, how's that going to go over? Not so much, because you need to build consensus around that. It takes everybody in the room agreeing on what it is that that vision should be. So our process is a robust outreach to as many people as we can talk to through the process as possible, so that you can collect all that input and listen and move forward confidently. When we did Danville's comprehensive plan, we had 1,000 people fill out surveys. And when you get 1,000 people fill out a survey, it gives you confidence in what you understand the community wants. We had the public open house, like when we're talking about in Edinburgh. We had 500 people give us feedback at that meeting or afterwards. That gives you data points. So when you come back to this later and you say, hey, we shows we're going to do this, and the public says, why? I say, well, we've got backup here. We've got data that shows that we listen. So building consensus through this process is critical to the success of being able to move forward with confidence. But a great comprehensive plan will also really give you a real plan. It's the inherent part of it. The plan is, what are the projects you're going to do to implement that vision? What are the policies that you need to? Policies is the fancy word of saying, how are we going to make decisions? What are we going to prioritize? So you need a real plan of what that looks like to identify, here, we're going to invest in infrastructure to serve this area, or do we not want development to occur there, so we're not going to extend our infrastructure over there very purposefully. Confidence in the plan is also, what are the things you want to do? As a community, it's mostly residential. How much of that tax base should fall on residential taxpayers, and how much of this is about diversifying the economy? I think that as you look at growth, we got to find out, what does it look like to diversify your economy, to add in some business, some more commercial, so that it is not purely on residential tax base. It has to be a sustainable level of prosperity if you're going to grow. You have to have that sustainable level of prosperity. So have a really good plan. The mistake I see communities make is they forget the fourth, which is really having a action plan to go with it. If all you do is list out all the things you want to do, it's not enough. You're going to come out of this planning process literally with 200 or 300 great ideas. And they'll all be on Jim to get them all done in the next 6 months, right? It doesn't work that way. If you have a list of 200 or 300 great ideas, we call that a wish list. That's what we did when we were kids, and a wish list doesn't accomplish anything. This can't just be a plan that said, here's what Greenfield has and we don't, or here's what Greenwood has and we don't. This has to be a plan that says, here's the very specific things we need to do. It has to set priorities so that you're identifying, here's the top 5 things we need to do as a community. And then you can work on them and you can make progress. When you have 4 or 5 things instead of 200, now we can start to look at this and say, what are the steps we're going to take to implement priority 1? If priority 1 is a town center, what are we going to do for this? If priority 1 is diversifying tax base, what are we going to do? If priority 1 is building community quality place and improving that, building a trails network, expanding parks, improving sidewalks, what are those things you're going to do? You've got to have a real action step. So that's what we believe is the 4 great parts of what makes a really good, successful plan. I guess I'll just wrap up and say this. The community engagement part of this has got to be robust, and we've got to give everyone a chance to participate. We do that several ways. The first thing we do is really focus on awareness. Let the community know what you're doing. We'll do social media posts for you, so we can show you that. We will do some flyers that we can post. We do video work in-house, and so our team does splash videos that we can put on social media to tell people what's going on. You can get a cute kid and say, hey, what's my future look like? It goes a long way. We did this in a little town in North Vernon in southern Indiana, a town of 5,000 people, 5,000 views. Almost everybody in town saw it. And they asked the question of, what does it look like to plan for our next generation here so that our kids can stay? And that goes a long way in this. We also show up at farmers markets, haunted Halloween walks, Easter egg hunts, county fairs, anything we can to get out the word and help you through that process so people know what's going on. The worst thing is somebody showing up at the end and says, I didn't know this is happening. We can't have that. We've got to give people a chance to participate. We'll do things both in person, we'll do things online. The reality that we found is that for today, every one person will show up in person, we can get 10 people to participate online. I get better input in person, so we love in-person meetings, but we also want to give those online because we think we can also supplement that with a lot of the families that can't necessarily come out here on a Wednesday night because it's baseball season or football season or whatever it is. And then we like to have an open house after we've collected input because we have to make sure we really captured it. Because sometimes we hear things and we put our slant on it, and we want to make sure that this is yours. This can't be about what we want to do in Indianapolis. This has got wants. It's your vision. We'll give you advice through the process, but it's ultimately your decision. This is your community, and we're here to help you get there. So thank you for this opportunity. We would love to be part of this, and happy to answer any questions that you guys do have about it.
Thank you for joining us tonight in your presentation. We're actually out of time for questions, but we do have your contact information that we could shoot some questions at you.
Absolutely. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
talk to everybody.
Yes,
Thanks.
nice to meet you.
Just wanted you to, Brian,
Absolutely, Brian. Thank
he
you.
told you a lot about that process. This is a little bit more about me, so.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Nice to see you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Take care, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you, Jim. Please follow me.
I was waiting my turn.
Are we losing people?
It looks like it.
Oh. We need to, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move that we adjourn. I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.